What is going on, guys? This is David from Aquawater, and welcome back to another One Piece chapter review. This week we are talking about chapter 1014, The Ham. So this is a very important chapter this week. This is the actual ending chapter for volume 100 of the One Piece manga. So I've been expecting huge things from this. Literally, this is the first time that I didn't bother with mutes. I didn't bother with blocking accounts. I just logged off of Twitter for the full 2 weeks just because everyone was saying that this chapter was going to be insane. It's a volume ending chapter. It's the chapter that's going to end not just any volume, but volume 100. So I've been really looking forward to getting into this. It was every bit as hype as I was hoping it would be. I was expecting it to be huge. It was a huge chapter. So much happens, and I cannot wait to talk about it, so we're going to get right into it. It's chapter 1014, titled The Ham. The cover page is Law. He's sitting in front of a painted tiger screen, and there's a riddle in front of it. This is based off of some kind of Japanese legend. I don't know too much about it, but we're just going to go right into the chapter. And the chapter begins right where we left off at chapter 1013. We are up on the roof of Onigashima. We see Onigashima is it's floating through the air, and Kaido is speaking, and he says, so you infused yourself with the color of the supreme haki, or conqueror's haki. And then you see Luffy is falling, just like we saw last time, and Kaido continues by saying, but your use of it was crude and clumsy. And he goes, the Gumu Gumu no Mi what was it again? And then he starts laughing. And this bit, first of the big bombs. So Kaido says, you couldn't be Joy Boy either, it seems, as Luffy falls into the water. So, two big things happen right in these big panels. So, one, Luffy he has not just fallen off of the roof, he has fallen into the sea, which I theorized that he was going to fall onto the mainland. He has fallen into the sea. Okay, I don't know which to talk about first. The Joy Boy thing, I kind of want to talk about, but, I want to talk about the water thing first. How is this going to be solved? Because we focus on this a lot. A little bit later, everyone's going to find out. We'll get into that. Everyone's going to find out what happened to Luffy. But how are we going to save Luffy? Luffy is in the water now. He's sinking. He has a devil fruit. He can't swim. I think more than likely, the most likely solution here is going to be the polar tang. Oda has gone out of his way to show that only Law's main forces, I think Beppo, Shachi, and Penguin, are all on Onigashima as well as Law, but I don't think that the rest of the Heart Pirates are. So the Polar Tang is still in play here. When the island actually first lifted up, the Polar Tang could have noticed that and decided, hey, let's follow. Let's see what's going on, and then they could possibly intercept. I mean, Luffy is not out here. Obviously, Luffy is not out here. He is out, as I said in the last chapter, he's out for the time being. He's going to bounce back. We're going to have a little bit of a period of time where things are going to be really bad. Because if anything, I think that this chapter, and we will get into it because at the end of this chapter, stuff goes really, really bad for the Allied forces. But I think if anything, what this chapter proved is that it didn't prove it, and I know that everyone's sick of this, but I think personally, if you're taking cues in how the writing, structure of the acts have been going and all this, I think that this proves that this is in fact a 5-act play, and that this chapter specifically was setting up the tragedy, and the tragedy, as I predicted originally, that the tragedy was going to be that the rooftop was going to fail. And then I kind of got away from that because, we had the whole thing with Luffy learning Conqueror's Haki, and then, Zoro had his big feats, and Big Mom and Kaido got separated. And so I thought that it was going to be that Big Mom and Kaido completely wiped out the rooftop, but it's sort of what I predicted, but things went a little awry because now Big Mom is, fighting Kid. She's not really involved in the rooftop fight anymore. Everyone else went their own separate ways. It was just Kaido and Luffy. Luffy's been defeated. So I think this is the tragedy, as well as many, many other things, and we will get back to that again towards the end of the chapter. But, so, Polar Tang, that's my prediction. Joy Boy. So, first off, huge question mark. How does Kaido know who Joy Boy is? How does he know who Joy Boy is? Because as far as we know, Kaido does not have any way of deciphering the poneglyphs. Which is why, like, well, I don't know, maybe he does, because Big Mom doesn't, which is why she wants Nico Robin. She told Kaido, leave Nico Robin alive. But, yeah. But how does he know who Joy Boy is? This is a huge, huge question mark. And also, it almost seems like he knows a little bit more about Joy Boy than we do, because he implies that Luffy couldn't be Joy Boy. And that specific, you couldn't be Joy Boy either. So he's waiting. I feel like he's waiting for Joy Boy. He found out about Joy Boy and has been waiting and has been disappointed because he keeps thinking that these people that are coming are going to be Joy Boy, and then it's not. I don't think that this confirms that Luffy is not Joy Boy. But then again, I've never been on the Luffy is Joy Boy theory. I think that would be interesting. It would definitely be an interesting plot element if that happened. But, I don't think that just because we're drawing all these comparisons to Luffy and, like, the whole prophecy with, like, Joy Boy making the promise to the mermaid princess and then Luffy's relationship with Shirahoshi, I don't think specifically that paints Luffy as being Joy Boy. But, yes, anyway, after this, that's a huge question mark anyway. The whole Joy Boy thing. Crazy. I can't, like, what? Anyway. After this, Kaido's getting a phone call, and, he picks it up, and it's Bao Huang. And she says, Master Kaido, we found Momonosuke. And he goes, I'll be there at once. And Bao Huang, and she's like, yes. And he's like, announce the results to all of Onigashima. Like, let everyone know what happened up here. And so now we cut away. We cut away back to the third floor of the castle, and the Beast Pirates are like running, and they're like, oh, we've spotted Yamato. Yamato's carrying Momonosuke, but something's wrong though. Like, his cuffs are gone, and Yamato is just running, swinging the Kanabo, knocking out the Beast Pirates, just being like, yep, that's right, I'm not your prisoner anymore, I am Odin. And then we cut away again to the first floor crawl space, and Momonosuke is, I believe, it looks like he is just finishing up reading Odin's journal. And he says to Shinobu that it seems that he truly must not die. And right as he says this, she's like, what do you mean? Of course you mustn't die. And he starts screaming in pain again and clutching at his head and just being like, what is that? Who is it? And Shinobu's, of course, confused. She's never seen this before. But we, as the readers, we know this is the exact same thing that happened to Momonosuke on Zou. And so on Zou, the prevailing theory of what it was on Zou, because just like with the Sea Kings and Shirahoshi back in Fishman Island, Luffy was also able to hear the voice of Zunisha as well as Momonosuke. So we are assuming that this is a voice of all things trait. So I have two theories as to what this whole thing is, right? So either, because of something that happens a little bit later in this chapter, I think that Momonosuke is either hearing Kaido or he is hearing Luffy. Because there has been this thing about Luffy in this arc where every time that Kaido knocks Luffy out, and we see him in this very specific portrayal where, he's beat up and he is unconscious. His eyes are white, though. And every time, it has been pointed out to us twice that this has happened, and this is now the third time as he's been knocked off of Onigashima. He is unconscious. He's fallen into the ocean. But this is now the third time we've seen it. The first two times we've seen him like this, Kaido has gone out of his way to point out that it still seems like Luffy is exuding his will, even though he's knocked unconscious. So I think that this could be some kind of voice of all things thing, where Luffy is, even though he's unconscious, his voice is reaching out to Momonosuke, and Momonosuke is hearing him and kind of finding out what is happening with him through this, like, weird, unexplained power that they both have. But, so we cut away from that now, and we go to the performance floor, back to the Skull Dome. We see Chopper. Chopper is in his monster point. He is body slamming Queen by Queen's neck, and he's got all these arrows sticking out of his back, and everyone's, like, all the samurai and the Yakuza, they're like cheering him on, and the Beast Pirates are cheering him on too, all the ones that flip sides, and they're saying like, oh, it serves you right, Queen, you backstabber. And Chopper is like huffing and wheezing, and Queen notices this and even says, like, for a guy who's winning, he wouldn't be panning like that. And Perospero is laughing, and we actually see, so huge feats for Chopper here, right in this chapter. Not only is he holding off Queen, because we see that Perospero is the reason why he's got all those arrows in his back. And Perospero is like, he's got all these arrows and this candy bow in his hand. He's like, let's see how long you can hold out, Perorin. And Chopper's thinking to himself, and it's like, damn it, nothing seems to hurt Queen, no matter how, whatever I do. He's like, I'm finally able to extend my monster point time, and already I have less than 10 minutes left. And then we start going into a flashback, and we see he's back, ladies and gentlemen, because the first thing we see as we go into the flashback is we see the speech bubble. Caesar, that's pointless. Caesar Clown. So we get a flashback to when the Twirly Hat crew were going to Zoe, and there's a conversation happening between Caesar and Chopper, and Caesar is basically like, just 3 minutes, like, what can you possibly do with that? And Chopper says, like, but if I'm in my monster form any longer than that, and Caesar responds by saying, like, then what? Are you so precious about your looks? Like, I thought you were a pirate. And Chopper is like yelling, and Caesar just continues by saying, like, rumble balls, like, that's sloppy work. Get this list of chemicals, and you can stretch that gigantification time out to 30 minutes. And he's like, yeah, of course there are risks. There's risks to doing it, but, like, you're not a coward, of course. So it is shown now that Caesar, which, first off, it was just good to see Caesar. I just want to put that out there. I love Caesar Clown. I know he is a terrible, terrible person within the confines of the story, but I love Caesar Clown. But Caesar actually helped Chopper to develop his rumble balls, and has now extended the amount of time that Chopper can stay in Monster Point, which is awesome because, like I said, everybody needs to get power-ups in Wano. And Chopper now being able to control his Monster Point and extend the period of time, like, that right there is enough for me. But so Chopper manages to dodge an attack from Queen. We are back in the present day. This laser attack called Black Coffee Bean. And Perospero gets ready to set off another volley of candy arrows. And all the allied forces now are like yelling like, oh, he's about to, put off another volley of arrows. Everyone takes shelter. But right at this moment, Bao Huang jumps up and activates all of the Marys and starts across the entirety of Onigashima, spreading the message. She says, announcement to all of Onigashima. The fight is over. The highest bounty on the enemy side, Straw Hat Luffy, has lost. Master Kaido snuffed out his life, and now Straw Hat Luffy sinks to the bottom of the dark, cold sea. The Kozuki Samurai and the pirate captain have both fallen. Who will be next? Can anyone else win? Master Kaido will now descend and begin to clean up the stragglers. But heed closely, for Master Kaido will allow you to surrender. Only those who raise their arms in surrender and compliance will be spared their lives and allowed to serve as followers. And so this is important because of something that I've been predicting, which is that while this is happening, this is a big 2-page event, right? It's like, it's one of those things where, like, the paneling is kind of skewed, so it goes across the 2 pages, but it's a bunch of different panels. And as all of this is being said, we see Chopper react, who is fighting Queen. We see Marco react. We see Frankie react. We see Jinbei react. We see Luffy sinking to the bottom of the ocean, and we see Kaido in his dragon form coming down and noticing the hole in the Skull Dome. This is important, but not important to what I'm talking about right now. We see Law react. We see Big Mom and Kid react. We see Nami and Usopp and Tama react. We see Robin and Brook react. And we see Sanji and Zoro react. And Sanji and Zoro are like the only people who actually kind of get speech bubbles besides Big Mom and Kid. Because, so, in the panel where we see Kaido, like flying down from the top of Onigashima, he sees the big hole and he's like, look at this mess that you made, Linlin. We also see Big Mom reacting by saying, like, Mama, did you hear that, to Kid? And Kid saying, like, like I care what happens to that idiot, you know? And then we see Sanji and Zoro reacting by saying, screw that. Like, we are not, like, no one is going to surrender. We're never surrender, never give up. We're taken down. This raid is going to succeed. But so, why is this important? I know that got a little tangential because I was talking about certain things. But here's the important thing. So far in this chapter, from the beginning to these pages here, we've checked in with Yamato, we've checked in with Kaido, Luffy, Momonosuke, Shinobu, every single one of the Straw Hats, and Marco, and Law, and Kid, and Big Mom. And so if any of you have watched my past reviews, there's one thing that I've been saying over and over and over again. Every single time that I mention that Act 3 is going to end, I say, there's still some people that we need to check in with. We need to check in with this person. We need to check in with this person. Over the course of these 2 pages, and then a few of the pages earlier where we checked in with Yamato and Momonosuke, we check in with everybody. Every single person is here across this 2-page spread. And they're all reacting to this news. Everyone. All 10 of the Straw Hats, and then we don't get to see Killer. That's one of the only things. We don't get to check in with Killer. We don't get to check in with Drake. There's a few people who are left out, but pretty much everyone is checked in with. So, keep that in mind, because I'm going to talk, when we get to the end of this, I'm going to talk about how I definitely think that this chapter was the end of Act 3. I very, very truly believe that this chapter was the end of Act 3. Keep this in mind, what I just said. But so, after this whole series of events where Bao Huang announces to everyone that Luffy has lost, we cut back to the crawl space. But not specifically the crawl space. We cut back to the passage to the crawl space. And outside of the crawl space, Kanjuro. And Bao Huang is still talking as we see this. And Bao Huang says, "Surrender, Wano. You have lost this battle. The outcome is clear. Straw Hat Luffy has lost." And so, as this is being said, we go into the crawl space. And we see Shinobu looking at a Mary, a little frog with the Mary thing on. And, Kinemon and Kiku, it is revealed that they are there. They're in the crawl space. They have Momonosuke. And Shinobu sees the Mary and is like, oh, that's one of the Marys. If that's here, then this is bad, right, Master Kinemon? Like Lord Momonosuke? And Kinemon is reacting to Momonosuke, who's still screaming out in pain. And he's like, what's the matter, my lord? And Momonosuke says, Kinemon, we must tell everyone. Now, I have no idea what it is that everyone needs to know. But it seems like right after this, he is snapped out of it. Because Shinobu is trying to tell them, like, hey, listen, there's a Mary over there. And at that moment, who should appear but Kozuki Oden? And he pops into the crawl space and says, hey, Momonosuke, I'm so glad to see you alive. Like, I'm so glad to see you again. And Shinobu is like, it can't be. Oden. And Oden says, it's good to see you too, Shinobu. Like, I haven't seen you. And Kiku immediately responds by saying, not again. And Lord, Momonosuke sees Oden and starts saying, Father, you're alive. They're reacting because the readers know. They don't know. And so Kiku, in a rage, yells out, it's not him. And Kinemon covers Momonosuke's eyes and says, you must not watch. And Momonosuke is yelling out, Father. And Kiku says, get back, Shinobu, it's an imposter. And she runs forward and yells out, not once, but twice, you show us these mocking lies. And Oden responds by saying, what do you mean, Kiku? Why are you so angry? It's me. And she says, after what you did to Ashura, and we get that flashback to Ashura telling her, like, I don't blame you for going soft. He was our friend. And I still love the scanlation translation of that line better. Even the sharpest blade becomes dull when pointed at a friend. But flashback to that. And Oden's saying, like, stop, Kiku, what are you doing? And Kiku says, don't use his body to call this one's name, Kanjuro. And Oden is this some kind of joke, Kiku? Like, I'm the man who took you in. And Kiku is rushing, blade drawn, no games, rushing to slice down this imposter Oden. And as he says that, I'm the man who took you and Izo in. Is this some kind of joke? I'm the man who took you and Izo in. We get that flashback. Instant flashback to when they were kids. And Odin's coming across them and saying, you don't have parents? And Kiku's heart takes hold. And she hesitates. And that's all it takes. Because Odin stabs right through her stomach. Could you really cut me down? And everyone's shocked. And Kiku is crying, tears streaming down her face, and she's thinking, I cannot, Master Kin, this one cannot do it. And Kanjuro immediately appears from within the Odin clone. It says, it's only fair. The wound you gave me will prove fatal, Kiku. And he's wheezing. And Kiku begins to wobble. And Kinemon yells out, Kanjuro! And runs forward and catches Kiku as she falls. Kinemon is holding Kiku in his arms. And she says, Master Kin, this one has failed. But if the fallen snow is melting, then surely the hour of dawn is close at hand. And he says, don't talk nonsense. And Kanjuro says, no, I'm sure the light of Wano's dawn will shine all the way down to the underworld, Kin. And he yells out, isn't that right? And Kinemon just slices him open. My God, I am so happy. I said it. Unfortunately, and God, I really don't want Kiku to die. I don't want her to be dead. But I did say that there was absolutely no way that Kiku was going to be the one to cut down Kanjuro. It had to be Kinemon. And why did it have to be Kinemon? Kinemon slices him open, and as Kanjuro is falling, he regains his composure and he starts laughing. And he says, that's it. If anyone should close the curtains on my act, it ought to be you. And we see a flashback. We see a flashback to when they were younger, when Odin's vassals were being formed. And there's Kinemon saying, we're taking this freak in, Odin, and laughing. And it's him and Kanjuro. As Kanjuro says that to Kinemon, if anyone should close the curtains on my act, it ought to be you. He says, after all, on stage, we were always best friends. And he falls. And thus ends the tale of Kanjuro. And as I said, it was going to be Kinemon. And I honestly don't feel robbed. I do not feel robbed that we didn't get a fight, because I feel like the way that it went out, and this is like where it goes into the title of the chapter, the ham, like Kanjuro was like the ham actor. I felt like it was such a good way for him to go out. Just one last despicable act, bringing Odin back, to get the hopes up. And even though we as readers have already seen it, and of course we're not fooled, the fact that Kiku had to go down for it, and that Kinemon would end his best friend, and it wasn't even like a long drawn out battle. It was, the curtains now are finally closed on the story of Kanjuro Kurozumi. And man, I love it. It was so good. But God, please, Kiku, don't let Kiku be dead. I love Kiku. I think Kiku is one of the most interesting characters. And she has taken such L's. Like, this chapter, like, she lost her arm. She lost her life now, seemingly. And, like, I really, really believe, and I feel like I'm going to regret saying this, but I for all of the people, for Oda to not kill, right? Everyone has a problem with Oda not killing his characters, but of all of the people for Oda to not kill, Kiku is such a good character. And she's super important in the story because, like, not that we haven't had trans characters in One Piece before, but, like, the first, like, 100% confirmed trans character. Like, she's important. She's an important character, and I really love her. Like, since we met her at the beginning of Wano, like, but anyway. So, Kanjuro falls, and we have no time to react to all of this, because immediately on the next page, Kaido is there. Kaido is there in front of Momonosuke, and they yell out because Momonosuke notices Kaido. Kinemon throws Momonosuke into Shinobu's arms and says, "Take Lord Momonosuke and flee." They start to run. Kaido looks at them. Kinemon stands there, crosses his swords, and Kanabo swing. Absolute. This panel, it's like devastating. Devastating. He hits Kinemon, and he's got the Conqueror's Haki flowing off his Kanabo. He hits Kinemon, and you do not even see the top half of Kinemon. Like, you don't. It is gone. And Momonosuke is in Shinobu's arms as Shinobu is running, tears flowing down his face, yells out for Kinemon, and then we go back to Onigashima floating in the sky, and it says Onigashima reaches the Wano mainland. So we are here now. The tragedies. The tragedy. Okay. Two things. Kiku better not be dead, and Kinemon better not be dead. The only reason I don't want Kinemon to die is because I need to see Kinemon reunite with his wife. I need to. It's just like, it's been set up now at this point. I need to see that happen. But, second thing. Here's the big thing. This is the end of Act 3. It really is. I would not be surprised, and I'm not going to put money down on it because I feel like there's something. There's something that's going to happen in the next chapter that is going to be like the proper end. But to me, this was... That Onigashima reaching the Wano mainland, that is the end. Like that, Act 3. Boom. Curtains closed. Ba-bang, ba-bang. You know, the shamisen plays. Act 3 end. And then the next chapter, let's check in with the Reverie stuff. Find out what the Marines are up to. Did they capture the warlords? Who knows? But Act 3 is over, man. And that is the tragedy. This was the tragedy chapter. Like, it started in the last chapter with us finding out right at the end Luffy was defeated. And this is it. This is it. This is the end. Because here's the tragedies. Luffy lost. We lost Kiku. We lost Kinemon. For both of them, you know. And, you know, also Luffy losing. And everything feels hopeless now. Everything is like completely like the whole raid is jeopardized now. You know, people are going to start losing their morale because the samurai lost, Luffy lost. And everybody knows. Everybody knows. And also there's this big hanging thread of like, Luffy is in the water. He's in the water. And he cannot swim because of his devil fruit. So how is he going to be saved? And I already said, you know, earlier in the video, the polar tang and all that. There are many, many different ways. We as readers, of course, know that Luffy is going to be saved. But this is the tragedy. And I am standing firm that the Onigashima is not falling on Wano. It is not. And the reason why that is not happening is because, as I said, the Hour of Legend from Momonosuke. That is not happening. It's not going to fall. Momonosuke is going to hold Wano on his back, theoretically, by being able to create his own flat clouds and keep Onigashima afloat. But, man, what is going to happen? Because I thought that Yamato was going to the rooftop to fight Kaido. And now Kaido is not on the rooftop anymore. Dude, like, I honestly hope that in the next chapter, which... Just gonna throw this out there. The next chapter of One Piece has the potential to be the best chapter of One Piece, bar none, ever. And I don't know what's gonna happen, but, bro, we checked in with everybody. Every single person was checked in with. And the people that we didn't check in with, like I said, we didn't check in with Killer and Hawkins, like... or, you know, Apu or Drake, like those, like, important named characters, we don't need to check in with them because they're set. And, like, yes, like, other people were set, like, it's pretty sure, like, I'm pretty certain that, you know, like, Robin and Brooke, like, that's pretty much set against Black Maria, Frankie and Sasuke, like, that's pretty much set. But, like, we checked in with everybody, the tragedy happened, boom, Act 3, done. So, yeah. 1015, man. I really think that we are going to go into, like, the end of Act 3, and we're going to start, you know, we're going to have the little act break, we're going to check in with the rest of the world, and then when we come back, Act 4, and maybe the Kaido backstory, we're definitely getting the Kaido backstory before Wano's over. Who knows when it's going to happen at this point, but it's happening. It's got to happen, you know. I don't think Kaido can live up to his hype as a villain without a backstory. Because right now he's just a strong dude. Like, we don't know what his motivations are. But holy crap, what a chapter, bro. From the rip, dude. Joy Boy. Luffy falling into the water. Then we had, Chopper and all his W's in this chapter. Like, being able to fight against Queen while holding off Perospero, or like attacks from Perospero. Like, that's 2 Yonko commanders that Chopper's going up against. The fact that he is able to overcome his limits now and has extended his monster point limit. And then, everything that happened with like Yamato just beating the crap out of people, checking in with every single person on, all the Straw Hats we checked in with. Momonosuke finishing the journal, whatever it is with Momonosuke and his headaches, like, bro, Kiku, the end of Kanjuro, the seemingly end of Kinemon, Kaido showing up at the end to try and catch Momonosuke. God, what a chapter. Like, honestly, I am so hype over this chapter, and I'm so glad that I got nothing, not a single thing spoiled for me. But yes, please let me know in the comments what you guys thought about the chapter. Let me know your theories. I really, really want to hear your theories on this chapter. Like, what is this Joy Boy thing? What does Kaido know about Joy Boy? What does that mean? Let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, make sure you like. If you want to see more from me, if you want to keep up to date with One Piece and you want to hear what I have to say about it, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Click the notification bell to be notified every single time I upload a video. And thank you guys once again so much for watching. I will see you guys in chapter 1015.